Okay, good morning. I'm Suzanne Collins, Communications Director of NFIB in Pennsylvania, and welcome to our webinar on how small business can tap into this economic boom that we're seeing in our state that's all tied to the Marcellus Shale drilling. We have a real expert. I'm so pleased to have our presenter, Matt Henderson, with us today. He's from the Marcellus Center at Penn State, and he has a lot of great information. Welcome, Matt. I just wanted to mention a lot of the people who signed up today aren't necessarily so close in proximity to the shale, and I wondered, do you think that necessarily will make much of a difference?
Thanks, Suzanne, for having me. Well, it makes some difference, but there's definitely business opportunities, whether you're within the shale play or whether you're outside of it. So there's definitely opportunities for all businesses across the Commonwealth.
Thank you for joining us. I want to let you know that if you want to ask a question, you're welcome to type it in. I may bring up that question as Matt's going along. If not, we can answer many of them at the end. And of course, we'll be happy to send you an email answer if we don't get to it. And now I wanted to let Matt take over and give us some good information on how we can get your small business tapped into the Marcellus Shale boom. Matt, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne, again for having me. And again, we're going to talk about, a lot of information today in a short time. So if you see our slides up here, you see the last bullet point. There is homework. School is out for the year. However, what I'm going to do is give you a lot of information on the supply chain opportunities related to the shale energy revolution we're seeing here in Pennsylvania and across the United States. But I'm going to say lead you to the door, open the door, but also going to give you some additional research and homework, I say, for you to do for your business to see if this is a great opportunity for your business, something you want to engage in, and also to learn more about the industry there. So we're going to go over some of these areas rather quickly based on our time constraints, and some of these in a little bit more details. But again, I would encourage you as well to ask questions as we go for clarification or further discussion on a point. So what we're going to talk about is some of the drivers, the trends, what we see going on with the shale revolution, some of the business considerations. So we're going to focus today not just on where these opportunities are, but also how to engage the industry and how to get involved and position your business to take advantage of this. So part of that is talking about the supply chain overview, where we'll go over some of the different segments of the industry out there. Real quick, just a little bit about the center. Again, I'm with Penn State University, the Marcellus Center for Outreach and Research. And you see on the screen what we do. A lot of our focus is on the outreach component, and we work with a lot of the researchers on campus on various different topics. So my focus is business development. My background is economic development. And again, the research that we do some research related to that. We'll talk a little bit about this utilization trends, talking about the manufacturing renaissance, and which is going to lead to additional business opportunities as things move forward and this development pace here. So again, a little bit about what we do, and I'm going to jump forward here and we're going to talk a little global, some of the global stuff that's going on right now, and why does this impact what's going on here in Pennsylvania. So you see on the screen there are two figures. We have the President Putin, Vladimir Putin there from Russia, and as well we have a prince from Saudi Arabia. And the question comes up, how does this impact what's going on there, or what's going on in Pennsylvania? How does that impact global economies? Well, as an example, you see in the most recent Ukrainian incident that's been in the news, the developing story there, we've seen that great impact and interest in their interest in developing their resources. So I put this out there as a nugget to put in the back of your brain to remember that this is a long-term and this could be a global opportunity for your business as well. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the pace of development, and you can see the fairway from the northeast to the southwest, PA down into West Virginia, where the development is taking place. This information, I think, is crucial as you start planning where your business may engage in geographically the industry. And you can see as it's changed, and you can see in Ohio especially, and I'd say the Erie to the Pittsburgh corridor, especially in the last couple of years, is becoming more developed. So we're going to talk about the hot spots, and I'd say the southwest part of the state into West Virginia and into eastern Ohio is definitely the hot spots in terms of providing some of those services or products to the industry. Question comes up, how long is this going to last? We hear about the workforce side, these are careers, multi-generational play. And I guess I'm here to say that based on the current conditions, being the economic conditions, the political conditions, this is going to take decades to develop. So we see up here, the Marcellus, and just looking at these three shale plays, Marcellus, Utica, and some of the Upper Devonian, is an extremely large surface area, large area to be developed. Estimates out there range, and even mine up here, you see between 100 to 200,000 wells to be developed. And roughly, it shows on the screen, about 2,500 are being drilled a year. Of course, we know that number can go up and down, and it has. But if you do the math, we've only had about 10,000 wells drilled in the region. You're looking at, again, decades of development. So what this means is, from a business standpoint, two things. One, you have plenty of time to engage the industry, to get your business plan in place, and to make sure that when you do engage, you are ready and you can do it right. And the second thing is, again, planning long term. This could be, your core part of your business for the next, several decades out there. So walk through some of the trends real quick, and these are important to know the dynamics of the industry. So when you want to work with the industry, you need to know what's going on so you can engage in those meaningful conversations with the industry out there, but also so you can position your business a little bit better as well. So the drivers right now, technology and innovation, are truly what's moving this forward. We talked about, we know this is, the technology is why we are doing this now. We see the horizontal drilling, the slickwater fracking. That's the new technologies or newer technologies that are being perfected on a daily basis, which is driving this development out there. The other side, too, is a supply chain. We hear a lot of times, and you see the drilling rigs, and a lot of the news articles and the media looks at the rig count. When the rig count has decreased, and it has, they're taking that as, well, this is a bust. Things have slowed down, and that is not the case. We're talking about some of the midstream and the downstream opportunities here in a few minutes as well. Public perception. It's this we do social license. We call it social license. It's the right to do business, this industry to do business in your backyard, in your community, in your county, in your state, and that's a big key in terms of how fast this pace of this development will take place. We look to the north of us in Pennsylvania and New York, and we see that there's no development taking place because there's not that political will up there to move it forward. And the other side of it, too, is in just the last 4 or 5 years, we have seen numerous opportunities open nationally across Pennsylvania, across the United States, to Ohio, West Virginia, in the Gulf Coast area, North Dakota, and some out in California as well. So from a planning perspective, these companies have assets across the United States as well, and do look to take the companies with them, the local businesses with them, if they can. Some of the other issues, regulatory and legislative, by no means do we have enough time to get into, say, a political discussion, but there's a discussion now about the severance tax and impact fee. There's some, say, landowner issues as well as landowner opportunities out there. I know we have some accounting firms on the line. So there's a big, right now what we're seeing as the royalty checks have been flowing in across the state, there's a lot of confusion from the landowners in looking at those checks, quite honestly, just interpreting those checks. Are they receiving what they should? So there's a growing need out there to working with the landowners in those issues. And some other things. We're going to talk about environmental regulations in terms of business opportunity. Knowing what's going on is definitely providing has provided businesses that opportunity to position themselves when a regulation goes in place, that they are prepared, they have their product in place, and they can then engage the industry. I have a great example of that here in a minute out there. So again, politics definitely play a key role in this development out here. As a word of caution or a word of note here is if you're working with the industry, you are, for better or for worse, would be viewed as an industry supporter. Where I'm located here in central Pennsylvania, I've seen that to the negative, where local businesses have worked with the industry, but their constituent base does not support what the industry is doing for whatever reason, and they can lose and have lost some of their business out there. So it's just, again, you need to realize if you are going to engage the industry, how you may be viewed out there by your population, by your base. So the kind of looking what's going on this year and the next year, the Marcellus is definitely in a development phase. We have an exploration and development phase. The Marcellus is in the development phase. So companies working in the Marcellus, they know really where their drilling programs are going to be. They're working within maybe a couple county radius, and they are going to continue to drill in that area. So their scope, their boundaries would be, say, more constrained or more limited than some of the other companies when we look at, say, in the Utica. In the Utica play, it's more of a western PA and a Ohio play, and that's going from Erie to Pittsburgh, and that is still in the exploration phase. And that's, I'd say, maybe another word of caution is a lot of times businesses will look at, say, I missed the Marcellus, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to get involved in the Utica. And I'm not saying it's not a good opportunity, but you need to be cautious that what has happened with the Marcellus may or may not happen with the Utica. Utica is still very early on, and while you're seeing maybe 2,000 wells drilled in the Marcellus on an annual basis, you're in the hundreds of wells drilled in the Utica and the upper Devonian play. There's a focus now on utilization, and these are providing a lot of opportunities for small businesses out there. We're at a place where we have more gas, not just in Pennsylvania, but the Northeast United States, than can be used. We've seen where the prices have dropped. In some cases are still below $1 or $2 a unit. So the company's focus, the industry's focus too, is increasing utilization. Increase utilization in the drilling and the completion process, but also trying to promote utilization from power generation, natural gas vehicles, building the infrastructure, getting the fueling stations in place, as well as doing the conversions and the training, getting the mechanics and so forth trained to understand how to deal with these vehicles that are now being converted or coming off the line with natural gas engines out there. We'll talk a little bit about the region of the ethane crackers. We hear a lot in the western PA and into West Virginia. There's been several large ethane crackers that have been announced, and basically what that means is going to provide a value add to this region where they can build not only as opportunities in building the facility, but also the manufacturing renaissance that we are seeing move forward in the United States due to the low-cost feedstock we have, and it's going to take place. And the thought process is, as being Northeast United States, do we want it to occur here, or do we want it to occur down in the Gulf Coast? And it's, again, I believe it's going to occur, and we're seeing it. But the focus is also getting the manufacturing community aware of it, ready for it, so that as we see this production take place over the next 3 or 5 years, we're ready to take the most advantage of it in the Northeast here. So getting into, say, the nuts and bolts or entering the supply chain, where are those opportunities? I talked about the supply. There's an oversupply of businesses definitely compared to the demand. We do see, say, a high turnover rate within the industry, the natural gas and the oil industry, because businesses have maybe not planned it or maybe didn't really realize what it takes to work with this industry. Some of the key components are you have to be 24/7, 365. And those businesses thought it would be good, but they're realizing this is not for me, which it's good, provides those opportunities out there. So we're seeing that turnover. Innovation, again, is a key driver. Talk about some of those innovative ideas out there, but it needs to be an idea that is reducing the cost. We hear a lot about the pricing. We've seen the price drop in terms of gas dramatically, where the companies now need to reduce their costs. And what they're looking for and what they are getting is these innovative ideas from these small businesses, whether across the Commonwealth, across the United States, helping them to reduce their overall cost. The other, focusing on the growth areas, and the growth area right now is really southwest Pennsylvania and from that northwest up to Erie, and in the Panhandle and up to eastern Ohio and West Virginia. That's where we're seeing a growth, where the number of wells being drilled, the permits, the production out there is definitely increasing, and where is more there's more of a demand for business services in those parts of the state versus where we're at here in Central PA or Northeast PA. So preparing for success, understanding the industry and its dynamics. We're going to talk some more about the upstream, downstream. I've used those terms several times, and I hope and I joke that when I say upstream, downstream, somebody's not saying, well, how's the fishing going in that? Understanding what that means, understanding the lingo, the language, so that when you do talk with these individuals, you do understand it. You understand when they say, pigging a line, that means it's a pipeline and they're cleaning the line out. So again, understanding those trends and those again, opportunities or threats out there, how this pace of development may take place. Again, solid plan, taking your time. There's plenty of time to engage. Being a problem solver is not just being the on-site problem solver. There's an issue, an engine goes down, you can open that or you can help get that engine back up. But also that means problem solving is the company says, maybe you're hauling product out there, you're hauling pipeline out there, but the company needs somebody out there, need a welder on site. Well, you may not have a welder in your company, but you know a company out there that you've worked with before. So you're solving that problem for them by networking and having those key businesses out there in place to, again, you're solving a problem, making them able to continue to drill and be economically successful out there.
Hey, Matt, may I interrupt just very briefly? You had, and if you could in short, tell us about that one company that was so innovative, just to give people an idea of what kinds of ideas there are going on that may not be what they anticipate, just to give us a story.
Yes, and I'm going to talk another one. I'm going to talk about the cushion company in a second, but one company out there who is, say, this innovative idea is working with a chuck wagon, a company that hauls food out to the drill site or close to the drill site for the workers to get food. You've seen them run construction sites, you see them in the bigger cities, but where a lot of this development is taking place, it's out in, say, the middle of nowhere. And so this company was delivering food out there, and say one of those ideas is they saw the need for delivering, say, other products. And what they did is they partnered with a dry cleaner. Because these job sites out there, companies are living, or people are living on site, sometimes weeks at a time. So they partnered with a dry cleaning company, and then what that led to is actually another company out there. So dry cleaners delivering it out there is a company called Rigmaids. And what Rigmaids does is they go out and they clean these, these housing units, the work trailers, and providing those services on site. So they took some of their expertise. The Rigmaid company was a company that did basic house cleaning, and now they're adapting it, more of a construction environment out there. But great. And I do follow up with another story here in a minute about this other company, this innovative idea out there. So the other side too, being aware of what your expectations are. We'll talk a little bit about the MSA, or the Master Service Agreement, or the Job Service Agreement, and know what this company is expecting of you, not just in terms of performance, but insurance and some of the safety requirements as well. So looking at some of the indirect opportunities, you see them up on the screen here. I'm not going to go in detail on there. Just a quick, another story. You're looking to position your company a little bit differently too. And we seen a growth in FR, or fire retardant clothing companies, or PPE, personal protection equipment companies, who provide that fire retardant clothing, the safety goggles and the equipment, or the steel-toed boots, and the hats, hard hats. What this company does a little bit differently is they go on site. So they go on site to sell the product, or measure the workers out there, take the orders, and then come back here in a few days or a week and deliver the products out there. Which, if you understand the industry, these workers are out there working 12, 14 hours a day, maybe longer. Last thing you want to do is take a detour, stop by the clothing outlet, pick up their clothing, and then maybe have to come back in a week out there too. So that's just another example of a company that I think has really engaged the industry in a unique way out there. So we're going to talk some of these direct opportunities, and just throwing some figures up here. We see the well construction and the pipeline construction. These are where there's a lot of opportunities, especially the pipeline, the midstream construction right now. And we see, in this tri-state region, we've seen this about a $15 to $20 billion annual investment just for this sort of development to move this shale revolution forward out there. So this, I want to talk about a few examples out here. So again, key drivers right now is technology and innovation. This is a 150-year plus industry. A lot of times people think, well, everything that could be has been created. Not so much. What we see here is on this picture, we see the kind of the beige spray. This is actually a spray liner. That's a containment system. So this company that I'm going to talk about here is a local Pennsylvania company who manufactures foam cushions for the amusement park industry. So what they did is they took their time, learned about the industry, they understood their products, their capacity, and they found a niche where they could engage the industry. And what they developed is it's a spray foam cushion or spray foam where they go out in this pipeline here. They're spraying the pipeline in place so it doesn't move while it's being installed. And in this case, this is a spray liner. So what they're doing is they're spraying the containment system on this well pad. So the companies are being compliant with regulations, but also best management practices. But what this does is it provides a liner so that any liquid on top of this, if there's a spill, it's contained within that system. And then what the company has done is, through their innovative idea, the spray liner, is that it reduced the cost dramatically, where it doesn't take 5 or 6 people to install this liner, remove it, take it from site A to site B. It takes a couple people to install the liner, to move the liner, and reinstall it, or to recycle this in some cases as well. This other company out here, and you can see up there's a small transmitter. This is just an engine. It could be an engine of any sorts. What this company has come up with is basically predictive maintenance package for engines. So engine wear is a big factor. Downtime is a huge factor for these industries, because if you're down, drilling rig or a completion crew, if you're down by a engine failing, you're talking, $50,000, $100,000 a day. So this company has come up with this technology where they remotely monitor equipment, sends it back to their hub, and they can send a note, whether it be text, email, phone call, whatever, to the company and say, hey, listen, engine 123 is going to fail relatively soon. You need to switch it out. So again, a local company taking some of their existing wireless capabilities and adapting it to the industry. This company here, what they do is they basically went to the sites, understood what was going on. They said, what's your dirtiest job out there? And it's during the fracking and the completion process when all of the sand is being mixed with the solution, the chemicals in the water, and being put down whole. There's a lot of silica, and it's not only it's an OSHA, it's a worker safety issue as well. And what they came up with is it's a mobile shower. And what it does is it reduces the time between work shifts. So when one work shift is switching over, the new workforce is coming on, the workers have to go in, and typically they need to spray down with a handheld air compressor, taking numerous minutes, 30 minutes. This here comes up, and within a few minutes the workers are clean of all the silica and free from potential hazards from taking the mask off, inhaling some of that silica and so forth. So again, these are just a few ideas out there of some of the businesses that have engaged. So what we're going to talk about here is the different aspects of the oil and gas industry, and I'd say this is an area I'm going to say there's more homework involved. If you don't understand the different components of the industry, take some time, go online. Our website will be listed up here. We have a lot of resources out there. A lot of the industries, companies themselves have resources out there. So understanding the difference between upstream, midstream, and downstream. And the quick and dirty of it, basically the upstream, think of the drilling rig. So that's what's getting the gas from 9,000 feet down, getting the gas to the surface, the oil to the surface, or maybe some of those liquids out there, getting that to the surface. And the midstream component, think of the pipeline. So once the gas has come to surface, to the edge of the well pad, the midstream company, they're taking it from the well pad, taking it to the transmission line, taking it to those end users out there, which is, say, the downstream component, which is listed in green there. So we're all part of that downstream segment where we're using natural gas in our home for our businesses, if we're using natural gas vehicles. And the other side of it too is the petrochemical industry. 96% of all products could start out as ethane, which is a gas constituent out there. So the downstream, we're going to talk about some of those opportunities as well. There's definitely a lot of opportunities in the immediate future, but looking 3 to 5 years down long term, a lot more opportunities opening up out there. So upstream, we're going to go through, I'd say this is about a 5-minute version of a 8-hour class. So again, it'll be brief, but what's going on in the upstream? So until you get the gas to getting it up to the surface, you have the leasing, the legal, the seismic. So this is where the companies are determining where are we going to drill. A lot of opportunities related to this, especially, say, from the legal and the accounting side as the landowners are going through the leasing process. So part of understanding the supply chain, understanding of the trends is to know most of the state is under lease, but from the northwest part of the state down, again, that area to Pittsburgh area in Pennsylvania, there's a lot more leasing activity taking place. So a lot more need for those types of services out there. So it also has to do with pad development, building the well pads, getting the pad prepared. So you have the heavy construction companies. We have truck haulers, heavy equipment haulers on here on the call today. That's also, I talked about being ready and being providing a solution. Maybe you're a smaller company who only has 5 or 6 trucks or only has a couple pieces of heavy equipment. Part of building your network and engaging this industry might be looking at your competition a little bit differently. And instead of you only having 3 trucks, look at it, well, with 4 of your competitors out there putting it together, you have 15 trucks that you can now say, hey, listen, we can build these lease roads, we can build these well pads. We have the capacity out there to do that based on working as a consortium out there. So it's another idea, and we've seen that operate well. So part of the mindset, the traditional mindset, sometimes has to be looked at again and tweaked somewhat out there. So some of the opportunities related to this, again, around well pad development and leasing and permitting. A lot of seismic surveying takes place where the well pads can be located, any wetlands, any water, fencing, equipment rental across the board, not just looking at the heavy equipment, but lighting. This is a 24/7 operation again, so you need the lighting. Bring up porta potties all the time, and it gets a joke, gets a laugh. But if you think about, there's 2,000 active well sites, 3,000 active well sites. There's a lot of need out there for that sort of service. Supplying the porta potties, supplying the service, maintaining them, but also a lot of workers out there. We see on here, the food services out there. We're doing 2 tours today, my colleagues, and I can tie a lot of different things in here where we're working with a local bus company out there to take the individuals to the well site. So working with that local bus fleet. We have a catering company who's coming on site providing the food, working with another company who's providing a tent and some of the other amenities needed on the sites out there. So there's, again, sometimes that avenue, in our case, those avenue for that bus company or that catering company is actually through educators, in our case, through Penn State. So a lot of different opportunities out there. So walking through a little bit more of the supply chain. So the well pad is built, and then the drilling. Sometimes I say, or I used to say that, we don't build drilling rigs in Pennsylvania, but we've seen a company down in southeast PA now, Chester, I believe, who now builds Marcellus drilling rigs. This was a company whose capacity was building smaller back off the truck rigs, shallow wells or water wells. But they took their expertise and they applied it. And now they're building large drilling rigs for the industry out there. So again, lots of, see these opportunities up in here. I'd be glad to entertain some questions on some of these specific out there. But again, I want to move through some of this so we can get to some of those business considerations as well. So a couple on here I want to point out, maybe some unique businesses to say we've worked with, we've seen out there, and I say solar panels would be one of those. All of these well sites are very electronic or very have a lot of technology on those. A completed well site is transmitting information to numerous sources, local office, national office, third-party offices, monitoring the gas flow, the pressure, monitoring the water out there. And the company out there who sells telescoping flagpoles, of all things, you would think may not have an opportunity for flags on site. However, this equipment is usually up high enough for, whether it be because it's in a wooded area or also as for safety factors, vandalism as well, but also there's wildlife out there. And it's up on top of a high, usually a static pole. And this company makes telescoping flagpoles that basically you can drop down the flagpole from 25, 30 feet, and then you can maintain your equipment. You can check the solar panels, check any transmitters. And the companies would typically take a cherry picker out there, a couple of people involved with this. So what this company is able to do is provide a reduction in cost, where one person can go out, maintain this, versus hiring a cherry picker, bringing a couple different individuals in to do that job out there. So let's get to the midstream a little bit and talk about some of those opportunities. So again, this is taking the gas to market out there. So there's a lot of midstream. This pipeline development is taking place now. We're seeing a lot of wells out there that are not hooked up. We're seeing over the last couple of years, and we see this over the next 2 years, this development, this midstream opportunity is taking place. And this is, digging the ditches, but it's not just digging the ditches for the pipeline. As you saw the one picture earlier of the pipeline with the spray foam around it, that is holding that in place because that pipeline needs to be in a specific, orientation, sitting a certain way to make sure the gas flow goes through and make sure the integrity of that weld also holds. So there's also other companies out there. As these companies are laying the pipeline out, they've come up with say sandbags. It's more complex than that, but sandbags to lay the pipeline down along the ditch as they're laying it out, as they're bending it, as they're welding it. And this company, local PA, small business, they go out, install or take the sandbags and help move the pipeline through out there. So, and what that's doing is providing more stability for this this pipeline operator as they're putting their pipeline in. And again, this company has done quite well and has learned to adapt. Originally, this company was just going to sell the product, and now they found offering that service as well has provided more opportunities. So I talked about, say, some of the homework. Part of what the homework is understanding the industry, and I'm just walking you through here a couple pictures out there of, say, midstream, the pipeline development. You can take a look at this picture. The end result is a pipeline going through. You see a lot of opportunities here. You see the surveying, you see the permitting involved, you see working with the landowners or the local jurisdictions out there, you see the logging and so forth. And this is the end result. This is a pipeline compressor station out there. You see on here in the background the compressor stations. You see some steel fabrication. You see a lot of, say, local manufacturings or machine shops can engage at some point in the construction of these compressor stations. We see in the forefront there on the left, we see power generation. That's a natural gas turbine, providing power to operate this site out there. So again, and just as a point, this is a gas compressor station. There's a lot of gas. We see a lot of electric running out there. You see the red inlet there on this the power line here going to a couple lights out there. What a company does is provides a plastic resin or plastic component that is now poured into those conduits out there, because you do not want, the last thing you want in a compressor station is a spark. So should there be a fail, some of these the lines fail, you're not going to have that spark. And this is a company out there, that's all they do, is they go out and seal off these different conduits out there for fire protection out there. So again, just a couple different pictures out there. I want to walk through some of the, say, the downstream opportunities. We see them on the screen there. I'd say the big opportunity we're seeing is related to transportation, as the conversions with the vehicles, but then it's also related to building the infrastructure, getting the fueling stations in place out there. And that is moving at a very fast pace. It has to do with some federal and state subsidies that's helping move this along. But even without them, you're seeing a lot of the local interest, and you're seeing a business interest out there because it's economically driven. You can buy natural gas for about half the price of liquid gasoline, and definitely half the price of diesel out there. So I want to move through some of these business considerations. We talked a little bit about the where. This is how to engage the industry. Safety is key. You need to have a safety plan in place, and you need to follow it. You need to make sure your employees understand it, and your employees do follow that. Drug testing is mandatory. There's a lot of the pre-employment screening, but there's also the ongoing drug testing for the employees as well. The other side of, say, the medical need or the from the medical side is we still have a workforce, and always going to have a workforce, probably about 25%, say, out of state, moving into this region, from a lot of those from the Texas, Louisiana part of the country, because of the technical expertise that they possess. We've seen a need for some more of those urgent centers, the one-stops, because a lot of these workers, their primary care doctor would be the ER or a urgent center or one of these medical centers out there. So we have seen that need for the employees, but again, it's also for their personal need as well. It's a very high-tech, high-touch industry. We're going to talk a little bit about a website development. This has to be extremely, again, it's very technology-driven. And the more advancement, as we see the advancement of this industry, we're going to see technology continue to play a more important role in this. I had the last point up there to talk briefly. I think it's important. As people are trying to engage the industry, you're going to find it takes a long time to learn about the industry, to go to some of the trade shows, to go to some of the different events out there to get your knowledge up to speed where it needs to be. And what I have found to be successful is somebody who can make a point person or point team to say, you're going to lead our shale energy group. Take 6 months, learn about it, engage the industry, and see how see what those opportunities are. I do realize working a lot of times with small, medium-sized businesses, that's not always the case. You can't always do that. But if you can say allocate enough time to give that person or that team or you to have that time to engage and to learn, I found it to be more beneficial where you can to stay abreast of what's going on and to learn about those supply chain opportunities out there. Again, some of this adapt, and some of this goes to the marketing. I've seen companies, businesses who are getting smart now, hand a business card out, they put on their 24/7, 365 to the industry that says, you know that if I call you at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be there to provide that product or service out there. So a couple other points out here, some compliance, just leave those up there for you to take a look at. It's very safety oriented, and there are some specific safety programs out there. A lot of companies are using ISNet World, getting your safety plan in place. So some of the costs, we've talked about those, a few of those indirectly, but per employee. You need to have the safety training, you need to have your PPE, your personal protection equipment, just drug screening up front and ongoing. Those costs could be in the neighborhood of hundreds to thousands of dollars per employee, depending on what's outlined to work with the company out there. So again, this goes to the planning, taking your time. You have 6 months to get this in place to engage the industry if you're not already working with them out there. Insurance. This is typically much higher insurance premiums are required, and not all of the local carriers, not all of your traditional carriers may have those policies in place or be able to give you a cost advantage or a cost a good policy. I'm losing the term there, but a financially advantageous policy out there. So a lot of need for insurance, for the employees as well as for the company policies out there, because there's a much higher level of risk involved with working with these companies. So in the interest of time, we'll walk through some of these. The Master Service Agreement, this is a legal document, and it's a starting point typically. So as you receive a Master Service Agreement from a company, it's much like any other, say, a lease document, that it's negotiable. A lot of these terms are negotiable, and it's important to have your legal team or a legal team, an accounting team, take a look at it, because it may be cost prohibitive to work with this company when you see what's involved in terms of the safety plan, in terms of the those obligations that they put out there, getting a safety in place, and again also those insurance requirements. It's also important to know what it's not. It's not a build it and they will come. You don't need to just go out and get that master service agreement in place and think all of this work is going to come automatically. A lot of companies go so far, they get the MSA in place, and then they think, okay, I'm going to get that phone call. You need to continue to foster and nurture those relationships with the company out there. So, what's some of the keys? Networking is key for working with this industry. So again, some people are not comfortable, and it's understandable, but to engage this industry, it's about who you know and networking, getting involved to different public meetings, trade shows, etc. out there. Also defining your message. I have 2 examples up here. There's a lot of companies who haul water. So this company in here is outlining what's their key advantage out there. So you have that 30-second, the elevator speech. This is what you can provide out there. Follow-up means success. You say you're going to email this company with your literature within 24, 48 hours. Don't do it in 72 hours. It's key because they will take that. Your follow-up with your business operations might be much of the same out there. So again, evaluating your business card file. So this goes to, you go to a trade show. I'm going to talk about a few trade shows. You go to a trade show, you're going to exchange, hopefully, and acquire a bunch of business cards out there. Knowing who those decision makers are is key. A lot of times they say the gatekeeper of a company is that marketing or that public relations or government affairs person. They're the ones who are trying to, are blocking you sometimes from accessing to that key person out there. So they're your point of contact a lot of times, and they're the part of that decision-making process. You work with them, you get through them, they provide you that inner contact out there. So knowing, again, understanding who those key contacts are that you that you acquire at trade shows, meetings, etc. Be seen. It's not just trade shows, restaurants, bars, any public meeting related to natural gas. When you think the industry is going to be there, try to be seen. It goes back to being a supporter of the industry out there. They definitely do like to see you at those events, supporting their cause or their industry to help it move forward out there. These are some of the opportunities. There's a couple of trade shows coming up in the fall. I'd say the next big one really would be the Marcellus Shale Coalition, their Shale Insight Conference, which is in the Pittsburgh market this year, and that will be in the September timeframe. You see some of these other types of events that you get involved with as well. The website, all small businesses we know, or all businesses have a website or should have a website. Also have a Shale Energy Services. Maybe the product or service you're offering is not unique to the products and services you offer, but your point of contact with that industry might be send me an email with your capabilities. So you direct them to your Shale Energy Services where it talks about 24/7, 365, has your safety plan on it. It talks about those products or services, your geographical boundaries, the experience that your company has, equipment you have, how new is that equipment, how, your insurance and so forth, what trade groups do you belong to. So again, updating your website, and that's part of taking that time out there to get involved and learning the industry out there. These are some of the industry knowledge, what's going on in the industry. These are some different groups that I know I follow and that I use a lot, and I'll leave these up here for you to access at a later time because there's a lot of different groups out there, a lot of information. Information overload can happen really quick when you're looking for oil and gas and shale related information. I'd encourage anybody who's on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I follow a lot of different groups on there. Found very beneficial, and you do find business opportunities out there as well. Not just learning about the industry, but business out there say, hey, I'm looking for a company to partner with, or we need this product, we need this service out there. So in summary here, some key takeaways. Problem solver is key, and I talked about numerous ways they need to be a problem solver out there. A strong work ethic, you and your employees, having that strong work ethic. Network properly. Networking is extremely important. It's who you know, and I say it's the leading here, the patience and perseverance. You're going to go to a trade show, you're going to talk to a lot of people, or you're going to make those contacts, and you're going to think, okay, phone's going to ring, going to get the email. Not necessarily. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months. But in this perseverance part here, this is where you need to find that fine line between getting a restraining order and being out of sight, out of mind. You need to follow up with this company and say, hey, here's my product, here's my service, keep me in mind so when you need my product or service. I mentioned early on, a lot of these opportunities is through attrition, when a company in front of you has fallen out of the queue and then they come to your company out there. So again, being prepared, understanding the industry, taking time, learning about the industry, getting everything in place, building that business plan out there so that you can properly engage the industry. So when you get that call, maybe in a month, 3 months, you're ready to go and that you can do it right. You get one time to do this, to do it wrong, and then they're moving on to the next business out there. So, hey, with that, Susan, I know we went over a few minutes here, and be glad to entertain any questions we have.
As a matter of fact, what I had hoped to do was to just anyone who has a question, I'm going to email them to you and have you answer them. And what I'd like to do is let you know that you can write down Matt's information here, but if you have any other questions or you're unable to write it down at this time, you can certainly call NFIB Pennsylvania here in Harrisburg. All of that email and phone contact information was in your webinar invitation. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. Matt, it was an excellent presentation, and I'm sure there's lots more. Matt had mentioned there are actually classes at the Marcellus Shale Center that people might want to look into, the longer version of what you got in 50 minutes today. And I'd just also like to let you know that NFIB Pennsylvania has a webinar in August. The topic is how your business can save 5% on your workers' compensation insurance by forming a safety committee that is state approved. So hopefully you'll join us for that. And thank you again, Matt. If any of you have questions, feel free to call us here in Harrisburg at NFIB Pennsylvania. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.